When I got my first camera, even before that, when I had my first iPhone that had a good camera on it, I was always taking pictures. I would come home after school every day when I got my first camera, and my goal was to post a photo on Instagram every single day. And I did that for a long time. A lot of times the photos weren't very good. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I was doing it. And that was the most important piece, was every day I forced myself to create something. And photos just have this special place in my heart. It's one of those things that I fell in love with early on, and it was kind of my first love in terms of using a camera. But it quickly became something that got pushed aside, and I just don't really take photos anymore. My very first camera I ever had was a Nikon D3100. It was red, it was ugly, it really wasn't that great of a camera. I had a kit lens and that was it. But it was the first camera that really made me feel like I was doing what I was supposed to be doing. It made me feel excited and passionate about something. I had motivation for something. That's something I always struggled with growing up in school. I didn't have a lot of motivation to do schoolwork. That's where all my motivation began to be focused, was on camera stuff. And it really jump started what I'm doing now, which is doing this stuff for a living. After having my Nikon, I saw on YouTube all these people like Parker Walbeck and Devin Supertramp shooting with 5Ds and Canon 5D this and Canon 1DX this. So I went out and saved my money and worked hard to be able to get a Canon 70D. And that was my favorite camera for the longest time. It still holds a special place in my heart. I wish I still had it. I ended up selling it to upgrade down the line. But I used the mess out of this Canon 70D. I shot video on it. I shot a ton of photos. And that was the camera that really assured me that this is what I wanted to do with my life. This is what I wanted to do after high school. I didn't want to go to college. I wanted to go in full-time freelance and figure out how to make money using the camera. I ended up getting my first paid gig at a university local to my town, and I was extremely unqualified for it. They wanted me to shoot video, they wanted me to take photos. So I went in with this false confidence, telling myself that I probably was not qualified to be here, but I didn't want them to know that. I showed up, I did the job, and they hired me back 5 years in a row after that. And each time I felt that the product got better, the videos got better, the photos got better. And it was a great learning experience for me. And that was what really told me, okay, I can make money doing this. After I had made some money, I decided that I wanted to go full frame. So I saved and saved and saved again and purchased the 5D Mark IV. And to this day, it's one of my favorite cameras that I owned. I absolutely adored that camera. The ergonomics, the way it felt in the hand, the photos that would come off that camera were absolutely gorgeous. The video was good. That was the first time 4K was in a Canon camera body like that, other than the 1DX. Even though it was a crop, it still had the capability to shoot 4K, which was really cool for me. That was early in the 4K days. And with that camera, I took some of my favorite photos that I've ever taken, hands down. Still to this day, they're some of my favorite photos. Then I did something really dumb, which was I sold the 5D and got an EOS R. And that was the first time in buying different cameras and different things like that where I actually felt like, this feels like a downgrade. The ergonomics were weird. It was boxy. I didn't find that it was that much better than the 5D in really any category. It still had the crop in 4K, had the same resolution for photos, and all it was this more uncomfortable camera body to use, and I didn't really gain anything. And the EOS R just didn't have the magic that the 5D had. It didn't make me want to go out and actually take photos or shoot video. Now, I can't fully blame a camera on my desire to stop taking photos. Don't get me wrong, I know that it's obviously me at my core, but it just didn't inspire me. And I think sometimes it's important to find gear that inspires you. Even though it may not be the best or the newest, if it inspires you, use it. After using the EOS R for a couple years, then the Canon R6 walked into the building, and it completely changed the game for me. That camera felt like the 5D again. The ergonomics were similar. I could shoot 20 photos a second, which was insane, shooting dogs and different things that I love to do. I have a lot of dogs. They were all really photogenic, so that was one of my favorite things to take pictures of. And the R6 allowed me to do things that the R just would not do. The autofocus was amazing. It was Canon's first jump in autofocus tech in years, and it was fantastic. All of these things compile to just it being the perfect camera for me at the time. It shot full frame 4K video with no crop. It could do 4K 60 full frame, which was sick. All of these things that I had been dreaming about, they were all in these higher end cameras, for finally coming to the consumer level that I could actually afford at the time. And the R6 became probably one of my favorite cameras of all time. Then here comes the Canon R6 Mark II that kind of fixed all of the issues that people had with the original R6. It had a little bit higher resolution sensor, went from 20 to 24 megapixels, and it had better autofocus. It could shoot 30 photos a second in full RAW. It could shoot completely uncropped 4K 60 with no overheating issues. And it became very quickly just the perfect camera for me in my workflow. I absolutely love it. I still use it today. I shoot all these talking heads with it, although I'm shooting on the C70 right now. But normally I use the R6 all the time. And that camera is equally inspiring from a photo perspective, but there was still something missing. I just wasn't taking photos. Recently I went on a trip to the mountains and I realized I didn't take any photos. I had video only. I shot some stuff for a reel for Instagram, and that was really it. And I kind of wish I had taken photos. It was the first time in a while where I was like, man, I missed photography. And I realized there's something different about photography than video. Video is great. You get to relive a moment exactly how it was for the most part. You get to see it in real time. You get to see body language. You get to see motion. You get to see all these things. But there's something special about a photo because you just kind of freeze a moment in time. It's almost like a challenge to your brain to say, okay, I remember this moment. Now let me think about and remember all of the pieces that were around it. What was actually happening? What was the context? Was it hot? Was it cold? Was it windy? Were we laughing? Who was I with? Like all of these things that you can kind of start to remember. It's almost like when you're reading a book and a writer is really good at describing setting. It's really good at, pointing out those tangible details that allow you to visualize where the characters are. Maybe if it's hot, does it smell weird? Does it look weird? All these different things that you may visualize in your head. Photos are very similar to me in that. Like, for example, I took a photo of my cousin Lucas in Washington on this beach that we had hiked to. But what you don't know is the hike was extremely strenuous. I was dying. I was out of shape. Lucas was in way better shape than me. And it was more of a stressful experience than the photo lets on. But what I can do now is I can remember that, look at that photo, and be able to remember all those little nuances. And it creates this almost reliving experience for me, as opposed to always just having everything on video that you just kind of watch back. I like to remember myself without having that visual, and there's just something different about freezing that moment in time. After that trip to Washington with my cousin, I decided I wanted to create a book of photos from that trip. When I opened that book for the first time, there was something about seeing the photos printed in front of me that I could kind of touch and feel, as opposed to looking at stuff on a screen. I've had photos printed in the past on, glass and different things like that and hung around the house, but there was something about a book that I could flip through. And it was a really cool experience for me just to see my photos on paper, stuff that I created, art that I saw through my own eyes that I decided to take a picture of and capture in that moment, to see it in a book that then I can give to people. Like I was able to give it to my cousin Lucas, who went on the trip with me. I gave him a book. I have one to keep. My mom wanted one, so I gave one to her. And it becomes something that you can just kind of leave around the house and every now and then go flip through and kind of look back on, oh, that was a really cool trip. Oh, that was a cool moment. That was a cool year. It makes me want to create more of these photo books to preserve moments in time, seasons of life with people that you may love that may not be here forever, animals, your pets that you may love. My dogs, like I've lost 3 dogs in the last couple years, and for me, dogs were my favorite thing to take photos of. I love my pets. I love my dogs. And I have these photos now that I can go back and look. And the older I get, the more I end up cherishing times with people like my grandparents and my parents that I know won't be here forever. As we all get older, we kind of know the inevitable is going to happen at some point. And I want to be able to have as many memories as I can with those people. And I don't always want it to be me behind a camera filming the moments, because photos are easier, they're quicker. You just snap and you move on. So with all of that being said, if you're still watching this, I applaud you. Take more photos. That's my goal for this year, is to take more photos. I want to challenge myself creatively to get more shots and take photos of more of the mundane things. And so my challenge to you is to also take more photos. Periodically this year, I'm going to be posting videos just kind of giving you update on the photos I've been taking. And this may be an opportunity where you can submit photos to me and I get to put them in the video and we get to talk about your photos and the things that you've captured. That would be awesome to me, to be able to share your work along with my work. So think of this as one in a series of videos about photography. I'm going to give some more energy to it this year, give some more focus to it, spotlight it a little bit more, because a lot of times it's where many of us that do video started. We started with photography. And don't get me wrong, I still have a lot of video projects this year. I plan to hopefully be able to shoot a first short film. My friend Nemo's been writing something that's really good. We've been kind of working on it together. I'm excited about that. I have a lot of behind the scenes content coming up this year with some big multicam shoots I'm working on that I'm gonna get to kind of bring you guys along and show you the process and what that actually looks like. A lot of exciting stuff. So video's not going away, but I also just want to give some love to photography this year. But that's all I got for this video. I appreciate you guys for watching. As always, if you're new here, hit that like and subscribe button. If you like photography, if you like filmmaking, if you like gear, a little bit of tech, hit that subscribe button. Let me know that you're here in the comments below. Also, if you're a Canon shooter and you shoot video, if you shoot C-Log 2 footage or C-Log 3 footage, I have LUT packs that are designed from the ground up. They're great. I'm really proud of them. Go check those out if you're interested in that. I also have some finishing LUTs on the site, as well as a free audio workflow guide. If you want to know how I get my audio to sound like this, go check out that guide. It's free. Link is in the description. Go download that if you are are new to the audio world and you want some help, it's a great resource. But again, thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you. I'll catch you in the next one.